From grinding 1-2 to owning a share in his own casino, having 750,000 subscribers on YouTube, and playing some of the highest stakes you're gonna see in live poker, Brad Owen has really gone from zero to hero. But how much of that is due to his poker prowess, and how much of that is due to his fantastic video style? So let's dig into it. We got this episode here and watch the single hands. So let's see how Brad plays.
He'll be playing from out of position. We're closing the action with 10-8 offsuit. I call for 100 more. We're heads up in position. The flop comes King 8-5 with 2 hearts. We've got middle pair. Anytime I make a pair, I'm usually pretty happy about it. The small blind continues betting for 100. It's less than a third of the pot. It's too early to tell whether or not we're ahead, but for that price, we're not going to be folding. I call to see what develops.
Something you'll notice that Brad does is he balances his body language pretty well. Like, he's sitting like this. He's done it a million times, putting a chip out. Even his timing isn't just like snap calling. If you guys are doing that, it better be intentional and conscious and for the reason of exploiting other people. Because if it ain't, you're going to be the one getting exploited.
The turn is the 10 of spades, giving us middle 2 pair. We're not losing to too many combinations, and we have removal to a handful of them. The small blind goes for a much larger sizing this time at 500. It's nearly a pot-sized bet. Our hand isn't likely to improve.
So the small blind's got 500 King 9. I think it's very good, actually. It's actually is it a pro that's playing this? This is a very good bet. It's a polarizing bet. You wouldn't expect somebody to go this big with a hand this weak. But actually, in context, Brad, he is going to have King Jack and King Queen and King 10. But he's also going to have a million other hands. He's going to have straight draws. He's going to have flush draws. He's going to have some 10x. He's going to have some worse King X. So actually, this is a very, very intelligent bet. It does get a little bit dicey on rivers because you kind of need to keep representing a polarized range. So you might need to end up going big on rivers, or maybe you can go tiny on some rivers. But it's at least an intelligent sizing, or it's a guy that's like, I got top pair, I bet. So we'll see.
So many potentially bad river cards. We could be up against something like aces or ace king, or a hand that has a lot of equity, like ace queen or ace jack of hearts. When we're strong but vulnerable, I like to play aggressively. The opponent has 3,500 total in his stack. I'm okay getting it in, but it's a little more than I want to jam for right now. Instead, I put in a small raise to 1,300 to really...
Wow. If somebody did this against me, I would think they literally only have 2-pair plus. If I did this against somebody else, it would be a very disrespectful play. Now, I'm not saying that's what Brad's doing, but I'm saying for me, this looks so unbelievably strong because, like, what hands are you going to want to raise it? You don't want to raise small with, like, absolute air because even his draws are going to have pretty good odds. You don't want to raise small with a weak king. You don't want to get stacked by aces. You don't want to raise small with a draw because then when you get shoved on, you have to fold. You literally only have a strong hand when you do this. So I don't know if Brad is thinking on this level, but if I were to do this to somebody, it would be an absolutely disrespectful raise. Because it's like turning a hand face up, essentially, and saying, hey, you good enough to get away from top pair? Yo, quick announcements. I'm hosting my first ever Premier exclusive Meetup game. And there's going to be one in a local casino in London. And there's also going to be an online one, because I know a lot of you are not going to be able to make it into London. So if you check the link in the description of this video, then you can apply for it. I'm not going to give out the location because I don't want to flood the casino, but it's going to be extremely cool. And there's going to be free food and drinks and entertainment, and the coolest people I know are helping me build it. Very excited about it. Come check it out if you're interested. There's a little form so we can get to know a little bit about what stakes you're into and where you want to play and things like this, which kind of games you want to play. And let me know. I'm excited for it. I hope you can feel it. Enjoy the rest of the video, beautiful people. Peace.
Really put the pressure on the opponent in case he has top pair. If he calls, he'll only have 2/3 of a pot-sized bet left in his stack. He's not going to want to fold a king for 800 more right now. Then he won't want to fold on the river if I jam, and he's getting 2.5 to 1. He's kind of forced to make a decision here if he wants to play for all of it or not.
Skull Mike's prediction might come true for Brad to win a pile today. Come on. He just might. JL ships it in.
All right, nice hand, Brad. I guess it was a disrespectful play. That's not a great shove.
And I don't think Brad's going anywhere. Biggest part of the day so far.
I snap called a shove. My mind was already made up on what we do if the opponent 3-bet jammed. We're in great shape as an 81% favorite in a pot over $7,500. Although it's not over, the opponent hits us with the When we hear that with one card to come, there's obviously no way we're going to win, especially with how I
He
run.
said good hand, it's over. I'm sorry, Brad. You got to say something back in that spot. This is probably the biggest leak we've seen so far in the video, not saying anything back. In that spot, when they say good hand, you'd be like, thanks, man. I'm so happy. I'm so happy I've won the pot. You have to like double irony it. Otherwise, the poker gods are going to punish you.
Run in this room. We're going one time for a substantial all-in pot. It's the biggest one of the day so far. We just need to hold. The river is the 5 of diamonds, pairing the board, counterfeiting our 2 pair, and giving our opponent the win. It's an absolutely brutal run out that puts us several thousand in the hole. There weren't a lot of cards that could help the small blind. He manages to find one anyway.
The small blind should have just called. And then on the 5 river, thought about leading really small. No, not even. Probably just check, actually. No. Yeah. Cool. Nice hands. Yeah, Brad making the huge punt there of not saying something double ironic back.
This is the 75 from middle position. Andrew's in the cutoff with the hand that he wants to play. He 3-bets to 300. We're next to act with pocket 10s on the button. It's a tricky spot. Under normal circumstances, we could reasonably fold pocket 10s the majority of the time after seeing a raise and a re-raise, with the small blind, big blind, under the gun straddler still to act. Under normal circumstances, people aren't opening Jack 6 suited though. When ranges are absurdly wide.
So what would you guys do here? It's actually a close spot between 4-bet and call. I'm more than tempted to call. I think that when you 4-bet, it's going to have to be like 800 or something like that. And then if he shoves, you're like, oh, and he's going to shove all of his ace king for sure. Might even shove some ace queen suited. So you're just going to end up probably folding against a flip a lot. Whereas if you call, JL isn't going to, if he's opening Jack 6 suited, almost always he's not going to be 4-betting. And you get to play, you will have a very defined range, which is the problem. Like Andrew Neemey's going to put you on 10s and jacks and 9s and king queen suited and ace queen off and whatever. I don't know what else people are going to be flatting ace jack suited. But it doesn't matter. You still just got a very strong hand in position 3-way.
Pocket 10s isn't a hand that we're going to be folding. We don't want to call either when we could be best. A cold 4-bet to 750.
I'm going to assume Brad is just misspeaking there. You don't want to call when you could be best. Okay.
If we can get a hand containing 2 overs to fold that has plenty of equity against us, that's a giant win. JL folds, the action's back on Andrew. He has to be worried that he can be dominated because it's not too often that I'll be 4-betting light. I happen to be towards the bottom of my range at the moment though. Andrew wants to see a flop. He calls for 450 more. We're heads up in position. I suspect that we're up against a narrow range of hands like ace king, ace queen, or ace jack suited, maybe queens, jacks, or 9s. The flop
I think the idea about being up against ace king is a little bit off here. I think if the guy is opening as wide as he is, that changes the entire dynamic for the rest of the 3-betting, 4-betting, and 5-betting. Ace king, you just have to get it in.
Ace jack 7 with 2 spades. It's an awful flop for us because it smashes our opponent's 4-bet call range.
This is the kind of flop that you see and you're like, I am losing this hand. There is no way I'm winning this hand. I apologize for ever thinking I could win this hand. I take it back and I wish I was not in this pot right now. I just want to check it down and lose.
Andrew checks. We'll still have a narrow concentration of strong hands like aces, ace king, and pocket jiggities. I'm going to c-bet almost pure in this spot. I bet 600 to put pressure on the opponent. If he has queens or a combo...
I don't know, dude. I don't know. What are you trying to fold him off? Queens is probably going to call 1. Maybe. So maybe you fold him off queens, maybe. Fold him off 10s. Guys, help me out here. Name another hand that could fold. It's not good when you're kind of like scratching your brain to figure out like 2 hands that might fold to a c-bet. You don't need to c-bet just because it's a good board for your range, because it's a good board for both of your ranges, and you have the worst hand that you're going to turn up with here. So you get out of there, man. Get out. You'd rather have king queen if you're gonna c-bet here.
Containing a jack with no backdoor flush possibility, he'll often fold. Andrew calls, which is alarming for us.
Wait, what?
We almost definitely don't have the bet. If he has queens or a combo containing a jack with no backdoor flush possibility, he'll often fold.
What? Nah, get out of here. He'll often fold this guy
Andrew
to 1
calls,
bet on the
which
4
is
bet
alarming for us. We almost definitely don't have the best. The turn is the queen of hearts. I don't like seeing it because it's coordinated with the flop and could have helped our opponent improve. Andrew could definitely have 2 pair or better. He checks. Part of me wants...
I bet GTO is going to be like, bluff your hand, bro. I'm not GTO, though, and I say do not bluff your hand, bro. Because now he's got ace queen a bunch, like a bunch. He's going to have ace jack a bunch. He's going to have jacks some. He's going to have aces some. He's just going to have very, very strong hands. He's not meant to have king jack suited pre, by the way. He's meant to fold that to a 4-bet.
Wants to bet big because we can have all kinds of sets. We have removal to the straight, but I wave the white flag with the check back. The river is the ace of diamonds pairing the board. Andrew checks. Not.
All right, when he checks, can we bluff is the question. Is he going to be checking ace 10? Maybe not, actually. I could see somebody probably at least thinking for a long time about before checking ace 10. And probably just leaning towards a bet because it looks like we're going to have some ace 5, some pocket kings and stuff. And both of those hands might check back. So actually when he checks, I'm starting to think he might actually have something like he has. You know, jack 10 suited being more reasonable than king jack suited here. Maybe kings himself. I don't know, man. I don't know. But there's usually you'd expect somebody to really at least think about value betting their trips plus here. And when I say trips plus, it's like ace 10 suited plus. So when he checks, I think we might actually be able to bluff this one.
Too thrilled with the situation.
I can't beat anything. Can't beat.
Yeah, I'm gonna rate this hand a 2.5 out of 10. I don't think this is representative of Brad as a player, to be absolutely clear. But I disagree with pre-flop. I disagree with flop. Definitely, if you're gonna not bluff turn and river, I disagree with flop. Turn I agree with, and I disagree with river. I mean, it's not easy to get 3 disagreements in a 4-street game. If you're going to be not bluffing 10s at any point when it's the bottom of your range, when you actually get a pretty good run out to bluff on, and pretty good action to bluff on, you see betting flop is just you're trying to fold him off like one hand. And he might not even fold that hand that you're trying to fold him off. You don't have to do it just because it's a strong board for your range. I've made millions of dollars using live tells in poker. I think I'm the best in the world at it. Honest to God, that is my true opinion. And I've never released a course. I've worked with people one-on-one. I've done 3 live tell retreats where I charged $5,000 for a ticket. But now I'm actually releasing a course, a masterclass on live tells. And if you want to take your game to the next level, and if you want to be the person that you can sit down and play the rest of the table like an instrument, this course is for you. And because it's pre-order, you can get 25% off using this code if you sign up with the link that's in the description, and I'll put it in the pinned comment. Enjoy the video. Like the video, by the way. Beautiful people. Peace.
L raises to 200 on the button. We're in the under the gun straddle with queen 10 suited. I call for 175 more. Mo only budgeted 50 for this hand, so he folds rather than call to close the action. It's down to
Wait, he just limp folded 7-5 suited, or
heads up, and we're out of position. The flop comes 9-8 deuce with 2 spades. We've got a gutter with 2 overs. I check to the pre-flop aggressor. The button has middle pair. He bets 200. In general,
so we're in the straddle. He's isolated a limper, and the limper folded.
well, people are c-betting at an incredibly high frequency today with hands that won't want to face raises.
Sometimes I think I use too big words for my poker audience because I forget not everyone's a pro. When I say those things, I'm sure most of you understand, or at least a decent number. I'm sure a lot of you are like, what the heck is Charlie talking about?
We have a draw to the nuts. Plus, often if we hit a pair, we'll have the best hand. I raise a 600 to get him.
It's a pretty good raise. It's a pretty good raise. The way that you want to think about this, and I know that Brad won't say this because he'll have a different way of thinking about it. If your opponent is potentially betting 100% of the time, which is very reasonable to suggest that he might do on this board, you know, if he's got ace 3 of hearts, he might decide to c-bet, then your raise is going to be printing money. And the reason for that is that he's just going to have a lot of snap folds. If, however, it's a board where he's going to be very strong when he continuation bets, you don't want to be check raising these kind of hands. It's a little bit too good for that. You probably want to have some like lower showdown value hands to do so. Maybe some 6-7s, 5-7s, things like that. Maybe some bottom pairs and flush draws and things like this. You can actually just check call if it's against a little bit of a stronger range.
Hands that are beating us like ace highs and weak pairs to fold. Usually, I'd refrain from check raising this exact hand unless I had a backdoor flush draw to go with it, but when you have to get revenge against someone, you can really do whatever you want. The button is a little sticky. He calls for 400 more. If he had a strong made hand, he probably would have re-raised with so many draws out there. When he doesn't raise, it makes me think that he has one pair at best, if not a draw of some sort. The turn is the 6 of clubs, giving us a double
7-5 guy should have folded.
Mo hates seeing it. I doubt the 6 is going to help the button all that often. Meanwhile, we can have the...
So now, here's how you have to think about poker. What is my opponent's range, and what am I going to do about it? The two questions you need to ask. If you're asking yourself anything else before those questions, you're doing it wrong. This is range analysis. Come learn it at eliteuniversity.com. I've done a whole masterclass on range analysis. What is my opponent's range, and what am I going to do about it? This is how you streamline a thought process. So what is my opponent's range? Well, is he going to have some ace highs? Yeah. Ace, king, ace, queen, ace, jack, ace, 10, those kind of hands. Can we make him fold? Yeah. He's going to have some flush draws. He's going to have some 9x, some 8x, some pocket 7s, pocket 6s. He's going to have, maybe not 7s and 6s, but potentially. And he's going to have some flush draws and some other straight draws. So that's his range. And now what are we going to do about it? Well, we picked up a double gutter. We have fold equity against the ace highs specifically. He might even start folding hands like he's got ace 8, king 8, queen 8, things like this. So I would say go for it. We do have a hand that theoretically, if we barrel turn on a clean river, we are going to be bluffing all in pretty often. Worth noting, we don't block any of the flush draws. So, if it's like a deuce of diamonds and we shove, it's more likely that they had a flush draw, meaning more likely they're going to snap fold. So, you gotta be thinking about which kind of rivers you're going to be bluffing as you make this bluff. But yeah, I'd probably bet something like 1350. I would go the smallest size that I can still feasibly have a set in my opponent's mind. Slow that down and replay it if you didn't understand it first time.
The nuts, sets, and 2 pair. I overbet 2,000 as a semi-bluff.
Polarizing on this turn. I really love this bet from Brad.
We can see that JL isn't too enthusiastic after seeing our large bet. He knows that we might not actually have it, but it's too expensive for him to continue, even with all of my money in his stack. He folds and shows an 8. We get our bluff through. There were quite a few cards that...
I would rate that it depends on his thought process, to be fair. I'm not sure why he check raised the flop. It could be similar reasons to me. It could just be that he was tilted. Could be that he had different reads on him. But I'll rate that a good 7.5 out of 10.
We're in the under the gun straddle, improving our kicker from the hand before. Now we've got big slick. I 3-bet to 900. Max probably feels like we're picking on him because he's been playing extremely loose while we've had the Nick games on, and we keep 3 and 4 betting him. Before we get back to Max, Sleepy wakes up with the jiggities and the double straddle. He's in terrible shape, and he can't love the spot that he's found himself in after seeing a raise and a call, followed by a 3-bet. He's not folding though, and I don't blame him. He cold 4-bet jams for 36-10. There's about to
I blame him.
be some carnage. The action's back on Max. The graphics say that he's got 2,200 left in his stack, but that's not accurate.
Yeah,
Those yellow chips in front of him are worth 1,000 each. He's got 3 of them. Then he has about
He's got
2,000
like 3.4.
in black chips, in addition to a few hundred in green chips. He's not going anywhere. He 5-bet jams over $5,000, pair the board, and beat us out of 7,500. A win here would more than make up for it, though. We're running it one time. The flop comes Queen 5-4, all diamonds. Max hits
I like that they run it once.
top set. Sleepy's drawing dead to run a runner back, and we've got a king-high flush draw that's live. The turn is the deuce of clubs, giving us a wheel draw to go along with our flush draw.
I feel like this is too many outs.
We can hit any diamond that's not a deuce, or we can hit a 3. Pretty regularly, you hear people complain about having too many outs and not
I like same wavelength.
hitting any of them. Well, we don't have that problem.
Nice.
And he gets there twice.
My bad.
Brad coming from behind.
Because the jacks guy might be folding jacks pre, so he might only be shoving queens plus and ace king. And then the other guy is definitely only shoving queens plus and ace king. So ace king against queens plus and ace king times 2 is just not doing particularly well. So I think this is undeserved play. However, congratulations on Brad for winning a $15,000 pot, which is like half year's wages for a bunch of you. So, he's doing something right.
We've got a real hand in the under the gun straddle. It's 125 more for us if we want to call. We don't want to, though. We need to clean up the garbage. I 3-bet to 1,100. We want to avoid going 4 or 5 ways to the flop. Our 3-bet squeeze gets the job done. The opponents all fold their trash hands. We win 500 to
Strong putting a 3-bet squeeze with king queen suited in the vlog. Love to see it.
spot, playing a trouble hand from out of position with half the table still acting behind him.
It really goes to show that if you're a good storyteller, you can put any hand in there, whatever hand you want. Like, actually, the most viewed poker short ever is like a pretty boring hand. that I've forgotten his name, but the really famous YouTube Shorts guy made. And it got over 100 million views. And there was a point where Ike Haxton was complaining online about it, being like, what is this? I don't understand. It's a normal hand. You check raise the jacks on the flop and you bet the turn you folded. And then, yeah, I think it's a little bit gatekeepy because some people just like poker, man. They like to see normal things that resonate with them. So I got nothing against people putting on the king queen suited squeeze in the vlog. And it's probably why one of the reasons why Brad is so popular is because he understands what people really want to watch. Whereas for me, I'm like, oh, what do I find interesting? I don't find a squeeze interesting. I find this, I find that interesting.
The flop comes ace jack 6 with 2 hearts. We've got a flush draw with the backdoor straight draw. Small blind checks. My perception of him is that he's on the tighter side.
So when people check in these kind of situations, they're pretty polarized, and it's not between a very good hand and a very bad hand. It's between a okay hand and a very bad hand. So what you want to do is, if you have a value hand like ace 10, ace jack, for instance, pocket sixes, you just bet big because he's going to fold his trash anyway. And this is, again, exploiting people's inelasticity. If you didn't watch the Corey Iring video, go back and watch that, and I'll explain that. Or come join Elite University, I'll explain that as well. You're exploiting their inelasticity by going big with value and small with bluff. So in these kind of situations, because you have a bluffing kind of hand, you might as well go small because he's going to fold his trash anyway, and he's not going to fold a jack or pocket kings or ace 5 to one bet at all. So you might as well go small on the flop and just make sure you lose less against the hands that are definitely going to call. But whilst investing a small amount to still make him fold his trash.
He might check his entire range. I don't necessarily take his check as a sign of weakness.
What?
He'd still have top pair or better. I want to make sure that we get to the turn with our big draw. I check back to see a card for free. The dealer puts out the 4 of hearts, giving us the second nuts. Our opponent checks again. Now, I don't think...
All right, again, when the person checks again, he might have a weak ace, he might have a jack, he might have pocket kings, pocket queens, and things like that. But if you're bluffing, you go small. If you're value betting, you go big.
I think that he has anything that strong after a second check. I want to make sure that we're able to get some money. I make a bet on the smaller side at 350. There's a good chance that the small blind's drawing dead. Maybe we can induce a bluff raise or something, though. The small blind calls. Perhaps he has a hand like king queen with the queen of hearts. The river is the 10 of clubs. The opponent checks. If he has king queen...
Here's the thing. If your opponent is good and will know that you can have some 7-8, 7-5s, even 3-5 suited, I don't know if Brad's defending that wide. If your opponent's thinking on that level, you can actually really blast it here and just hope that he's going to station you off with a jack or with a weak race. If he's not, he's just going to see a scary board, and he's probably not going to be making one of those big hero calls. So you really have to use your intuition based on your opponent here. Is he too sticky? Is he trying to make a big hero call? Because if he is, you can just go huge. You can shove. He's going to call those 2-pair plus anyway. He's going to call his straights. And maybe he'll just call you off with like ace 5 with the 5 of hearts.
We can make a lot of money. 3 Broadway cards out there is great for our current situation when a tighter player raised pre-flop, and we've got the second best possible hand on the river. There's a high probability that the opponent has 2 pair or better that he can call a large bet with.
There's not a high probability. There's some small probability he has 2 pair or better.
If he's not that strong, he probably won't be able to call a second bet at any significant size anyway. I swing for the fences with an overbet of 2,200. I want it to look like I'm trying to buy the pot like I did when we check raised the flop with queen 10 earlier, then overbet 2,000 after not really improving on the turn. Our flush should be very well concealed after checking back the flop and only betting small on the previous street. No one wants to feel like they're getting bullied, particularly on stream. Iowa Matt is deep in the tank and is considering calling to keep us honest. If he does, we're going to be up a lot of money on the session. Ultimately, Iowa Matt gets away from it and folds. After triple straddling, the pot is bigger than most in an average 5-10 game.
Solid hands. I'd rate it like a 6.5, I think, something along these lines. I think that the reasoning all the way through, I don't know if it was his reasoning in-game or if he's just like tired voicing over, doesn't really make too much sense. Thinking somebody's going to check their range on the flop after raising pre on an ace sideboard just doesn't ring true for me. I've never met any player that does that. And then on the river, thinking that he's going to have 2 pair plus a lot, I think is, again, not quite the right thought process. But I'll give him some credit and say that he's probably under-explaining his thought process for the vlog.
Our stack climbs to a new high point. If we take a look at the leaderboard, we're right at the top.
One thing I will say about Brad is that because he's trained GTO, he is going to have that GTO mindset, which is very non-exploitative, but he's playing against people that you have to be max exploit against. It's like, here's the analogy. You're playing you're playing rock, paper, scissors against a guy that 70% of the time is playing rock. You know, there's some guy from Florida sitting there being like, rock, rock, rock. You know, like, what are you going to do? Well, some people will be like, well, you need to be balanced. You need to be 33% in each one of them, so you become unexploitable. It's kind of like the Doug Polk style of the GTO world. And then you have other GTO people that be like, no, you start with the 33% of rock, paper, scissors, and then you deviate, so you throw slightly more paper. That's the kind of like half GTO-ish, half exploitative. The full exploit people would be like, no, obviously you play paper every time until he stops playing rock, or you do it like enough that he's still gonna keep playing rock 70% of the time, but you maximize the amount that you're going to be playing. You're going to be playing paper, and this is the kind of style of poker that I would recommend you guys play if you're playing against Iowa Mac, Crypto Max, JL, and Mo Money, and all these people, because they are going to be exploitable in every single situation. There's absolutely no need to balance in pretty much every single situation you're going to come in. You play 100% exploit, do this with your bluffs, do something completely different with your value bets, and that's how to play very fine-tuned and intelligent, rationally based exploitative poker. You don't start with GTO and then deviate. You don't do any of this stuff.
He raises to 325. We're last to act with Queen 10 suited. I call for 225 more to close the action. We're heads up out of position with 1250 in the middle. The flop comes 9-4 deuce rainbow. Neither of us have anything. It's going to come down to who wants it more. I check, expecting the opponent to c-bet at a high frequency, even if he's got complete air. Sleepy down bets at 225. We're getting 6.5 to 1 on a call, so I don't like folding anything. I target the opponent's no pair hands with a tiny raise to 550. Sleepy folds immediately. Our check raise gets through.
That was an amazing play. I'm gonna give that a 10 out of 10 for a play. I'm not joking. I think that's fantastic. The fact that he's taken a hand that you're definitely not meant to do this with in a board where Sleepy's going to be c-betting probably 100%, and he knew his opponent well enough that apparently folding ace-10 to such a small raise is unbelievably bad. He's going to be printing so much money in this hand. 10 out of 10 play. I think most people do not find this play at all. And the fact that he's done that means that I was wrong about how he thinks about some of the GTO spots, at least. I know he's still going to be very GTO because of the kind of coaching and the kind of way he explains his hands, but that was beautiful. That was fantastic.
With a minimal investment from us, in addition to everything that was wagered.
I mean, that really shines out from the rest of the hands that I've seen him play on other episodes as well. Like that is so non-GTO and so exploitative and not caring about that balance or anything like that, and just really just changed a lot of my perspective about how Brad could play. I don't know exactly why he did it, but it looks to be the exact reason that I would love to see somebody make that play.
From the cutoff, and Sleepy triple straddle to 100. It folds.
Good for Brad.
To me, I'm happy to gamble some. A raise to 350. Sleepy wants to defend his triple straddle. He calls for 250 more. We're heads up out of position. The flop comes Jack 9 deuce with 2 hearts. We've got absolutely nothing. I'm not planning to get too wild with so little going for us. I check. Sleepy doesn't wait too long before he checks back. I don't get the sense that he's strong. He'd probably bet with top pair or better. The turn is the 5 of clubs, giving us.
So we were about to check fold. The guy checks behind.
A pair. We might have the best hand. I make a small bet of 200 to get.
Nice hand so far.
The opponent.
The raise pre seems. Oh, we're in the double strata. He's in the triple strata. Yeah, love it.
To fold hands containing 2 overs to have equity. The button calls. Maybe he has a hand like second pair or a club draw or straight draw. The river is the 6 of hearts. 8-7 gets there, which was a double gut.
So, interesting spot here. I would probably check and then look to call. It's pretty hard. We have the king clubs. There aren't going to be that many clubs. I might min bet. No, that doesn't feel good either. No, I'll check.
Got her on the turn. The club draw missed, but the front door flush draw gets there. I check. I'm not too worried about the front door flush draw because the opponent might bet some of the time on the flop if he was holding 2 hearts. That's why I'm surprised to see the button make a pot-sized bet of 11.
Yeah, when the button bets pot here, this is going to sound crazy to you guys, but I'm probably just going to snap call him. I know that I can see he's got a flush, but given the situation, he's bluffing. Like, he's bluffing. There's just, what is he representing here? He's representing a flush. He didn't bet the flop. He's a recreational player. He's not thinking on that level, so he doesn't know that he's kind of weirdly representing the flush probably. What else is he going to be representing? A set? Pocket sixes? Maybe. But there's just not really any hands. The like 7-8 would have bet the flop. Yeah, it's just a snap call.
1150. I'm trying to make sense of this. He checked back flop, called our small bet on the turn, and is now going with a huge bet on the river. I don't know if he'd even go this large with a straight. We've mostly gotten the better of Sleepy in our battles against each other today, so maybe he's just trying to beat us in a pot to even the score before we wrap up for the day. I'm having a difficult time letting our
3-4 is the hand that I would put him on for value.
Our hand go because it feels like we're up against the nuts or nothing.
Brad thinking about hero calling here.
The problem is, like, what are his bluffs? But he could just be turning some like ace-7 into a bluff. You know, he could just be turning some king-queen into a bluff. He could be turning, you know, some club draw, like queen-3 of clubs into a bluff.
Would calling this large bet make me a hero? Some people might say yes. But personally, I don't think so. I'm just a regular guy who plays poker and makes YouTube videos about it. The real heroes? They're the guys who wear capes and fly around cities protecting us from science experiments that have gone wrong, and also aliens. In my opinion, those are the guys who should be getting more credit. In fact, I'm not even going to call. I fold to save a
I mean, obviously he's correct. I would have been really happy to see him call. Yeah, not because I want to see him lose. I just think it would have been a really good call.
1150. We only play a couple more hands before ending the session.
It is a player dependent thing. If the guy just never bluffs when he goes huge on the rivers, then you know you can make this fold. But almost always against every recreational player, I'm just snap calling the river. So how good is Brad Owen at poker? I mean, there were definitely a few hands that I thought were really bad, but then there are a few hands that I thought were just absolutely fantastic. And I will say this. He's better than anybody that's going to comment in the YouTube comments about how bad he is. He's better than every single one of you. So, you know, I make these videos for analysis purposes. I don't make these videos to like dunk on people. He's a fantastic poker player. He's going to be making a ton of money in the games that he's playing. He's also a fantastic YouTuber, as his record shows. But you know, it's quite hard sometimes when somebody is playing the micro stakes, playing the small stakes, to look up all of these pros playing these high stakes and kind of like figure out the pecking order of how good people are. And it's hard even when you're a top pro, but definitely when you're relatively new to poker or playing low stakes or don't play that often. And you'll see Brad, he's playing the same stakes as people who are way better than him because he happens to be able to be in these games that he's created for himself. But he obviously wouldn't play these stakes online or something like that, unless it's a private game online. So Brad, he's a fantastic poker. I just want to get that out there. And if you guys type in the comments like, oh, he doesn't deserve his money, he's crushing it. He's doing great. He's got coaching from fantastic people, and he's obviously thinking on a pretty high level. I will say that from a lot of his range analysis points that he made and some of the hands that he's played, I think he's probably lacking a little bit of nuance when it comes to exploitative poker. Probably has got a ton of GTO experience, but in these games, I would say if I were in his shoes, I would really spend a lot of time speaking to somebody who's very, very talented at exploitative live games and getting coaching from those people as well as the Nick Petrangelos of the world. Because Nick's an all-rounded, he's fantastic at so many things. But he'll be really studying a lot of like deep theory with these kinds of people. Anyway, hope that helps. If there's anybody else you want me to dig into, how good is X? Let me know in the comments. I know a couple of you said Rampage. Somebody said like Horsey Wild Poker or something like that. Don't know who that is. But if there's anybody else, let me know in the comments. Beautiful people. All the best. Peace.